Basketball fans, welcome back. So in the previous video, we talked about BAL Season 1 and BAL Season 2. And in this video, I'll be looking at the 2023 BAL season. So the 2023 BAL season, also known as BAL Season 3, was the third season of the Basketball Africa League. This season began on 11th March 2023 and ended on 27th May 2023. So the playoffs were played in the BK Arena in Kigali, which hosted the final stage for a third season in a row. And the regular season was played in the Dakar Arena in Senegal and Cairo, Egypt. Both venues hosted a conference for a second year in a row. So they still use the same setup as BAL Season 2. And there were just a couple of changes when it came to like the teams. So Al Ahly defeated AS Downers in the finals, and which was played in the BK Arena in Kigali for their first ever BL title. So Al Ahly, they were the team that hailed from Egypt. The other team that you've seen coming from Egypt is Zamalek, but Zamalek didn't make it. As the winners, Al Ahly automatically qualified for the 2023 FIBA Intercontinental Cup in Singapore. So in the previous season, we saw USM go for the FIBA Intercontinental Cup, but for the previous year, it was Al Ahly who came up and won it. So USM were the defending champions, having won their first title in the previous edition, were eliminated in the Sahara Conference. They didn't even make their playoffs, and that was actually quite of a letdown because they were put in as the favorites. So when it came to even the qualifications, we saw the same thing. We had 6 teams that got direct qualification, and you had 6 teams that had to fight it out in the road to BAL. And even looking at a glance, you saw the season MVP was Nuni Omot from Al Ahly. The runners-up was AS Downers. Third place was Stade Malien, and fourth place was Petro de Luanda. So Petro de Luanda finished second in the previous season, but at this time they were not able to make it past to finish, like, even win the championship or even defend the second place. So there's that. So the qualification was quite different from the way we had seen it. So the first round of the qualification stage consists of 20 teams that play in 4 groups of 5, each held in different cities. In the Elite 16, the teams are joined by 6 teams that qualified during the previous 2022 BAL qualification. So the BAL qualification happened the year before BAL tipped off. So 2 groups of 5 teams are played to determine the 6 teams that advance to the main tournament. So on 21st September 2021, FIBA announced the 26 teams in the qualifying tournaments, as well as the 6 countries that will qualify directly. So we've got 6 that are qualifying directly, and 6 have to go through this road to BAL gauntlet. So in the East Division group phase, we had Group A and B. So Group A, they played in Niamey in Niger, and we had the ABC Fighters, Stade Malien, Elan Coton, and Nigelec. Then in Yaoundé, Cameroon, we had Bangui Sports Club, Nure Eva, and Espoir. So the group phase, they were split into 2, Group A and Group B. Then in the Elite 16, we had in Abidjan, and also it was just quite competitive. And ABC Fighters, who hail from Cote d'Ivoire, they were the ones that were able to win it all. Bangui Sports Club, they were listed. Bangui Sports Club, ABC Fighters, Esale, and Elan Coton were listed in Group A, and in Group B we had Stade Malien, SLAC, FAP, and Nueva Era. So in the semis, we saw it was quite competitive because we had Bangui Sports Club, ABC Fighters, Stade Malien, and SLAC lock up the 1-2 position and 1-2 position respectively. Then we had, in the final round, we had that semi-finals, then the finals, and ABC Fighters, they managed to beat SLAC to win the finals, and they went past Stade Malien, but it was a very clutch game, but they were able to beat SLAC and went in there and won it. And SLAC, even by the virtue of them being in the finals, they qualified, and the third place, it was against Stade Malien and Bangui Sports Club, and Bangui Sporting Club, they lost, and Stade Malien locked up that third position. So ABC Fighters, SLAC, and Stade Malien. In the other division, we saw Group A. In the group phase, you had Group A that played in Dar es Salaam, and the Group B played in Antananarivo. So in Group A, that players with the teams that played in Dar es Salaam. We had Uyunani, City Oilers, ABC from Tanzania, and Matero Magic. Then you had Cospien, KPA, and Jabal Club. So the teams that came out of this whole ordeal when it tipped off, we had the Urunani Cape Town Tigers in B Academy. Although in B Academy were not going to participate directly in the BAL competition like that. Then you had KPA in there. They were split in Group C and Group D. Then you have City Oilers, Fevera de Beira, Mater Magic, and Cospien. So the top two were the ones that were going to be locked up in the semi-finals and finals to determine the first, second, and third phase. So this was actually quite rigorous from what we are used to, because there were the first stage of games that teams had to play. There was the second phase in the Elite 16. Then you went to the final round for the knockout phase. So it's somewhat of a advanced gauntlet. So in the first stage, in the finals, not in the first stage, in the finals we had the Cape Town Tigers. They won it 81-71. Fevera de Beira qualified because they were in the finals. They finished number 2, and City Oilers number 3. So with the teams being set and locking up those positions, now it is just heading into knowing who's going to be in what conference. So Petro de Luanda was the first team to qualify for the season when it won the Angolan League on 10th May 2022. The last qualified team was City Oilers, who captured the third place in the Road to BAL East Division on 27th October 2022. And the 12 teams in the 2023 BAL season were officially confirmed on February 13th, 2023, after an absence of a Nigeria representative in the 2022 season due to FIBA's punishment on the Nigeria Basketball Federation. Kwara Falcons was directly qualified as the winners of the Nigerian Premier League. So Alali, Kwara Falcons, ABC Fighters, and Stade Malien made their debuts to the competition, and ABC Fighters is the first team from Ivory Coast to play in the BAL, while City Oilers is the first team from Uganda to go into this huge continental tournament. So we had Petro de Luanda, US Monastir. This was the third appearance. These are the oldest teams to play in BAL at this time, and Petro de Luanda, this is the third straight appearance. US Monastir, third straight appearance. Halali, they made their debut this season. You had that season in season 3. RAG, this was the second straight season. Then we had AS Downers, this is the second straight season in there. Fevera de Beira and Cape Town Tigers, number 2 season in there, and also SLAC. So Kwara Falcons, ABC Fighters, City Oilers, Alali, they were first timers in here, and they're just gonna get shown a thing or two of what really happens in there. So even when it came to the personnel, we had a personal change. Coach Liz Mills, after coaching Saleh last postseason, she was coaching the ABC Fighters, and it was just so interesting to see this. And the most interesting thing was the fact that what happened with the Elevate players. This thing was introduced in the BAL season 2, and also we got to see the players who play for the NBA Africa Academy. The BAL Elevate players, we got to see them being put in different situations, so they were able to play well in given like the roster they were assigned, and they came out and played out very well. And we also had a list of foreign players in every team, and at least every slot was being used. So we saw majority of the teams occupy and try to recruit foreign players, and also other players in the continent to be able to play there, and also adding the Elevate players. So this season was a bit more reinvigorated because you saw teams actively recruiting, and teams were really making sure to get the players that they wanted. So we had some notable transactions in this BAL season 3. So on 23rd September 2022, Petro de Luanda signed 2-time BAL champion Solo Diabate, who came over from the US Monastir after straight off coming off winning the championship. On 10th January 2023, AS Downers announced the signing of 2-time BAL scoring champion Terrell Stoglin. They signed Chris Crawford, who played in their two previous BAL seasons, as well to complete their backcourt. And on 21st January 2023, we had US Monastir sign Jaron Randall, a former NBL MVP winner in Australia. On 4th February 2023, the Cape Town Tigers signed Zaire Wade. Because Zaire is the son of the Hall of Famer Dwayne Wade, the signing gained attention in the United States. So it was actually just a very key signing just to get the ratings up. On 23rd February 2023, ABC Fighters announced the signing of Abdullahi Harona, who lined up for his third BAL season. On 10th March 2023, Petro de Luanda signed Ater Majok, the reigning BAL champion and reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Majok came over from US Monastir. So this guy is an absolute beast, especially on that defensive side of the basketball. In May, ahead of the playoffs, the ABC Fighters signed Omar Abada, who was an all BAL first team select in lock in 2021. So in the preseason, US Monastir, as champions of the 22 BAL season, participated in the 2023 FIBA Intercontinental Cup. It was the second time a BAL team participated in the FIBA Intercontinental Cup. In the competition played in February and hosted in La Laguna in Spain, Monastir finished fourth after two losses against CB Canarias and Rio Grande Valley Vipers. So ESPN declared Petro de Luanda's last year's runners-up as their title favorites in the annual season preview. So you could see Petro de Luanda, there was a lot of stock coming in their side because they were expected to win it all this season because they finished number 2, and even can see like the goodwill that came in from the media. So there's the combine that happened. The league hosted their official second BL combine on 15 and 16 January at the One Ball Training Center in Paris. The combine featured 30 players and was directed by former NBA head coach Quinn Snyder. Several players signed a contract with BAL teams after participating in the combine. So signed players from like the 2023 BAL combine. You had Adonis Fila, he got signed by REG. You got Chudlia Bile signed by ABC Fighters. Mark Targuay, Fever Dabera, and Zaire Wade got signed by the Cape Town Tigers, and that time D Wade was there. So of course he's gonna get a team in there. So the regular season got played on March 11th March to 6th May of 2023. So this one you saw it end a bit earlier. The 12 teams were divided into two conferences of 6 teams each. Teams in each group played each other one time, where after the 4 teams advanced to the playoffs. So we had the Sahara Conference and the Nile Conference. So in the Sahara Conference, it was just great. We had Stadi Malien there, we had AS Donis there, they were at home. We got REG, ABC Fighters, US Monastir, and the Quara Falcons. So the Quara Falcons, they didn't win a single game, and they had a win percentage of 0%. But Stadi Malien were the shocker because they had a high point differential and they were able to lock up a spot. But the most shocking, and I can say the most something I didn't even expect, was US Monastir not even making the playoffs after winning the finals. I can attribute this to them losing Solo Diabate and Ater Majok at the time, so they were not looking like a threat like that. But the other crazy thing that happened was the teams in the Sahara Conference from 1 through 5, Stadi Malien, AS Donis, REG, ABC Fighters, and US Monastir, all had a similar record, but the difference was the point differential that each team had. So number 1 through 4, Stadi Malien, AS Donis, REG, and ABC Fighters locked their teams into the playoffs, and I can say it was actually quite astonishing to see that. And the 5 teams were tied. The 5 tied teams were ranked on point differential in their games against each other. So Stadi Malien had a plus 13, AS Donis plus 12, REG -4, ABC Fighters -4, and US Monastir had a -18. So that marked the Sahara Conference, and we knew the 4 teams that are going to advance to the playoffs. Then we have the Nile Conference. So The games in the Nile Conference were played in from 26th April to May 6th, 2023, and were played in the Hassan Mustafa Sports Hall on 6th October in Cairo, Egypt. So Petro de Luanda went undefeated and won the conference after defeating 4 teams in the margin of at least 17 points. In the most notable matchup of the conference, Petro de Luanda defeated Al Ahly on a buzzer beater by Gerson Goncalves. So that was the game. That was the game that decided who was going to be the number 1 seed, because you could see Al Ahly and Petro de Luanda were literally just toying with every single team. But the good thing was, in this conference, no team lost all their games. We had Petro de Luanda, Al Ahly, Ferreira da Beira, and Cape Town Tigers winning the conference, and they locked their chances. They locked up a spot in the playoffs. Then we had SLAC and City Oilers. They had a similar record, but City Oilers finished number 6. So the head-to-head matchups, Ferreira da Beira defeated the Cape Town Tigers 82-76 on 3rd May 2023. Then SLAC defeated City Oilers 96-68 on 2nd May. So you could see the games were much more competitive. I actually enjoyed watching this conference, because the games were a bit faster and you could see there was a lot of hype and anticipation. I feel like the games in the Sahara Conference, you might not have noted this at first when you're watching it, but there were no favorites coming from that side. But the favorites, we had Petro de Luanda as the favorites. Al Ahly didn't know much to expect. This was their first debut season, but Al Ahly just came in and shocked the world, because when the playoffs kicked off, Al Ahly, they were pulled with REG, Stade Malien, pulled with Cape Town Tigers, Petro de Luanda with the ABC Fighters, AS Douanes with the Ferreira da Beira team. So Al Ahly made quick work of REG 94-77 in the quarterfinals. Stade Malien, they beat the Cape Town Tigers 78-69, and they are going to meet in the semis, Al Ahly and Stade Malien. But on the other side, Petro de Luanda versus the ABC Fighters, we had Petro de Luanda just forcing their way through, and this is the first time ABC Fighters were playing, but this is the second time Coach Les Mills got knocked out in the first round. And this is a game that Tyler Ongwae also played, but I mean it wasn't enough to push the team to the second round. Then we had AS Douanes versus the Ferreira da Beira team 93-73. AS Douanes went ahead and beat the Ferreira da Beira team. Then in the semis, Al Ahly versus Stade Malien, this game was quite difficult to call, because as the game progressed, you saw every single team were just holding serve pretty well, but Al Ahly were able to outlast Stade Malien, and Stade Malien won the Sahara Conference. So it was a team that could even go all the way, but it wasn't meant to be at the time. Petro de Luanda versus AS Douanes, the big shock was, I can even say the biggest upset was Petro de Luanda just losing in the semis, because they were the team that was supposed to go all the way and match up and have that rematch against Al Ahly that we saw in the Nile, but that wasn't going to happen because they lost to AS Douanes. And pretty much I could say when AS Douanes beat Petro de Luanda, everyone knew that Al Ahly were going to be the champions because of how dominant they looked in the previous 2 games. Then in the 3rd place game, we saw Petro de Luanda fall yet again, and they lost to Stade Malien 73-65. The champions were crowned. Al Ahly were the champions, and AS Douanes finished number 2, and Stade Malien number 3, and Petro de Luanda number 4. And you could see the writing was all on the wall for Petro de Luanda after that implosion in that semis. After being knocked out, I feel like the fight got knocked out of them, and they're not able to do anything significant in there. So even going into the individual performances and the winners, especially for those awards, the most valuable player, we had Nuni Omot from Al Ahly. The defensive player of the year, we had Alo Diarra from Stade Malien. Coach of the year, Papi Goye from AS Douanes. The sportsmanship award went to Willie Perry from Ferreira da Beira. We had the Ubuntu Award going to Tony Dribella from the City Oilers. The all BAL first team. We had two players from AS Donners, got Chris Crawford and John Jacques Boise from AS Donners, Dane Miller from SLAC, Noni Omot from Alali. That was expected because Noni Omot, he won the BAL Hakim Olajuwon Most Valuable Player Award in the finals. You had Alo Diarra from Stade Malien. So in the BAL defensive team, of course, we had Ater Majok. He was there. He didn't manage to win the. He wasn't able to win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, but he was in the BAL All Defensive Team. We had Alo Diarra from Stade Malien, Sam Kelo Sele from the Cape Town Tigers, John Jacques Boise from AS Donners, and Chile Dondao from the Petro de Luanda team. And in the individual stats categories, I mean, from City Oilers, despite them not even being able to make the playoffs, we had Philando Jones. He averaged 21.6 points per game. Alo Diarra from Stade Malien, he averaged a high of 13 rebounds per game. Cleveland Thomas from RAG, he averaged 7 assists per game. Dane Miller Jr. from SLAC, he averaged 3.26 steals per game. Alo Diarra, he came in again from Stade Malien with 2.3 blocks per game. So this guy was just all over the place. Then Dane Miller Jr. is from SLAC, 39.3 minutes per game, and he also led in shooting from the field with 56% shooting from the field. So on the 3, we had Ibrahima Thomas from US Monastir with 45% shooting from the field. So that was actually quite impressive, especially if you're able to shoot at that clip. Then on game highs, this is where I was keen on. I was just trying to see who's just going to be locked up in the history book. So Will Perry from Ferreira de Beira, he had 41 points. He had a 41-point game in there. Alo Diarra from Stade Malien, he had 16 boards. Then in the assist, it was just tied between Cleveland Thomas Jr., Dane Miller, and Willie Perry. They had 10 assists in the games that they played. Steals, we had Uliulich Kira, ABC Fighters. He had 6 steals per game. And in blocks, we had 3 players who had spectacular performances from that side of the ball. Alo Diarra, Ater Majok, and Momadou Diane. They had 5 blocks in games that they had 5 blocks in the games that they played. So they led the games in 5 blocks like that. Then we had in the 3-pointers, we got Willie Perry from Ferreira de Beira with 9 threes. So overall, it was just interesting. It was just an interesting season, and it goes to show you that BAL just keep iterating in how they're conducting their games. And the biggest home win in this season, we had 41 points. Petro de Luanda versus Cape Town Tigers. The Petro de Luanda team just flat out destroyed the Cape Town Tigers and they beat them by 41 points. The highest attendance was in the AS Donners versus ABC Fighters game, which recorded 9,874 live people who are just watching the game. And the lowest attendance was 214. That was RAG versus the Cora Falcons team. I'm not sure where the Cora Falcons fans were, but RAG just made sure to stomp them even in front of a crowd of 214 people. But having those high attendances like the AS Donners versus ABC Fighters were actually entertaining, and the game did not even disappoint because it was decided by 6 points, and ABC Fighters were the ones that won the game. So that's just a recap of what happened in BAL Season 3. So as we wait for BAL Season 4, I'll just be popping up with videos just talking about I'll just be talking about BAL, and make sure to comment what you think in the comment section down below, and also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get notified, and also smash that like button. It helps me out a ton. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out.